Welcome to Fantasy Fluent, your best place for fantasy news, updates, and opinions, and the best way to win your fantasy football league. I'm Anthony K. I'm here as always with the producer, Mike DeFran. Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pumped. Season starts tonight.
It should be a national holiday, in my opinion.
I'm ready. You know, I was saying earlier today, I was talking to someone about it, and I said, some people really look forward to Christmas. Mm-hmm. Some people to Valentine's Day. Some people to, the 4th of July. For me, I unwrap 32 presents this weekend because I get to see all these teams that we've been talking about, all their new players, their draft picks, free agents, trades. We get to see them in action starting tonight, so I'm excited.
Yeah, really, really pumped for this weekend. Speaking of, this weekend's games and some great players, in terms of fantasy football, who is the best quarterback to draft?
Ooh, you know this from last week. I'm not high on drafting quarterbacks early because we talked about the top 10 typically have like a 3 to 4 point game, 3 or 4 point differential per game. So I don't like to take quarterbacks early. That being said, if I had to make a prediction as to who's going to be my QB1 for the season, I'm actually going to go with a guy who helped me last year quite a bit, and it's not a surprise. It's Josh Allen of the Bills.
Yep.
Because not only does he have now Stephon Diggs like last year, that's going to be a great tandem. It kind of flew under the radar, them getting Emmanuel Sanders as well. So he's got a couple of options at the wide receiver. I like Knox at the tight end. And what's the best thing for a fantasy quarterback can do for you other than throwing you yards and touchdowns? Running the ball. So he's going to run you in a few touchdowns as well. So he gives you that full package. So that's why I like guys like him. I know it's obvious to say Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, all those guys that are mobile that can give you Kyler Murray even, right? That can give you scores both in the air and on the ground. But I'm going to go, I expect MVP type numbers in real football and in fantasy from Josh Allen this year.
I think another thing that's really appealing to Josh Allen in terms of fantasy is they don't really have a running game. So I feel like they're going to be very pass dependent. The ball is going to be in his hands for the vast majority of plays. And I think he's going to get a lot of usage, and I think he's going to put up big numbers, like you said. So I actually totally agree with Josh Allen as the best fantasy quarterback.
I wish I could have got my hands on him.
Yeah,
but I, like I said, I don't pick him. He did go off the board a little early for my liking, though.
Yeah, and like you said, it's only like a 3 or 4 point differential, so it's not too big of a deal. But obviously, if you had your choice, you'd probably go with Josh Allen. On some sadder news, the Baltimore Ravens today, they just cannot catch a break with these injuries. The Gus Edwards, and Marcus Peters, back-to-back plays in practice, reportedly tore their ACL today. More relevant to fantasy football is Gus Edwards. We've seen J.K. Dobbins tear his ACL. We've seen Justice Hill get injured and be out for the year. Now Gus Edwards. Ravens recently picked up Le'Veon Bell in free agency. Is he draftable now?
Well, okay. I think with the season starting tonight, I would think most drafts are probably done. However, I do know of one that's going today, probably in about 20 minutes. We're currently about 6:30 Eastern time for those of you watching this later or the next day, whatever, on Thursday, September the 9th. So I know one, not personally, I'm not in it, but I know because I was giving some advice to someone who has a draft today at 7 p.m. That being said, I think most people have done their draft already. All my leagues, all my drafts are done. So is he worth a pickup in free agency? If you have a player that you took as a flyer, perhaps a cuff that you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to see the field at all. If you have a bench spot, if you had Gus Edwards and you're able, well, I guess you can drop, if you have Gus Edwards because you're dropping him, I would say take flyer on Le'Veon Bell because really the Ravens are going to run the ball, right? Yes. They're going to try to run the ball. And is Le'Veon Bell going to be, RB1, RB2? No. But I think you can spot him in at the flex, very matchup dependent, depending on what they do next. Because what's going to happen next is, do they sign Latavius who just got
Murray.
cut.
Yeah,
Latavius Murray. Yeah, we thought he was going to be the backup in New Orleans, right?
Yeah,
he got cut. So now there's an opportunity for him in Baltimore. Baltimore's going to have to do something. So it depends who they bring in. Do they make we don't really see trades, but do they make a trade for someone that's available? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the way it stands right now with the depth chart, I think he's worth a shot because the one thing about Le'Veon Bell, look, he's nowhere near the player he used to be. But I think in that offense where he's, the fourth option there, right? He's going to get some especially if you're in a PPR. He's going to get some receptions out of the backfield. He's going to get some opportunities. I think any running back, let me go back a step. Any running back in Baltimore makes me nervous, right? Because Lamar Jackson takes a big chunk of those run plays.
Yep.
Yeah, he takes those. And, if it's on the 1 yard line, he's probably sneaking it, right? He's probably taking that away from you as well. So I never, even when it was, I didn't like it when it was Dobbins and Edwards. I didn't like Ravens running backs. I liked it a little bit better when it was just Edwards. I like it even less now that it's probably Le'Veon. But like I said, if you have no other choice and you're in a deep league, I say pick him up and, see what he does in week 1 and week 2. Listen, you might catch, we've seen it before, right? You catch lightning in a bottle. And you're just like, wow, this, how many people thought James Conner, right, was going to be relevant in fantasy?
Yeah.
And look what he did, that first season that he kind of took over he was fantastic. Yeah. So, I say if you have, now don't go do something crazy, right? Like don't make it, if someone else picks him up, don't go trading someone, that's an actual value. Don't go dropping if you feel really comfortable with your running backs. Don't go dropping someone thinking, don't go chasing points because I don't think that's going to help.
Speaking of kind of on the running backs trail, and we all know fantasy football is just dominated by running backs. There's a new running back by the name of Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. Now, I've heard him going a lot of places. I've heard him as high as like a top 10 pick. I've heard him going in the second or third round. Do you think that Najee Harris should or could be a first-round pick in your fantasy draft?
I wouldn't take him in the first round. However, in my 2 main leagues, I have him in both. Now, in both of those leagues, I had kind of really bad, like 10th and 11th picks. Yeah. And I picked him up. I picked him up in the second round. I think he's going to be a rookie kind of breakout running back star. I'm betting on it because I picked him up. I don't know of anywhere where he slipped past the second round. But yeah, I don't think he's quite first round. Again, if someone drafted him in the first round, hopefully it was 10, 11, 12. But I got him 14, I guess, in where I picked 11, and I was happy with that. I think I got him 14 and 15 in my 2 drafts, which is right around what I think I think I got him, and he's going to be a top 8, top 6 running back this season. So it's still good value for me, right? Because if you think about it, who went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in almost every draft? Running back, right? Maybe one wide receiver in there. Yeah. So he's a first round point getter, and I got him in the second round. So for me, it was a good value.
So you think the sweet spot's low first, high second, that area right there?
I think yeah. If you got him low first, I think you're gonna be very happy, right? Mm-hmm. It is a high risk, high reward, right? I don't see how in that offense in Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger, who excels in play action, who is getting up there in years and is going to need a strong running back. He's the 100% workhorse starter who's going to get the ball. They're talking about 350 times this year, if not more. That's fun. That's what you want to hear. In fact, he's going to get the goal line stuff. Like he is primed and ready to have a big year.
Yeah, very excited for Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. So that's all the questions that I have for you today. We talked about Le'Veon Bell. We talked about Najee Harris. We talked about some quarterbacks. I think that's it for me. If you got anything else, then
I'll put it out for everybody now as we're getting into the season. I think starting now, since the season's going to start this week, starting next week. So these are going to be out every Friday. We're going to post the Fantasy Fluent Live. So what I would do is, in the comments, obviously subscribe, set your reminders so you know when a new episode comes up, because you want to catch it before your final kind of what you're doing Sunday morning. If you're like me, around 12:30, right before the games start, you're making your final tweaks. So send in your comments, send in your questions. You can send them down below. You can send them to anthonyk@sportsfluent.com. We're going to start doing starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Those are all coming in the next weeks on Fantasy Fluent. Until next time, be fluent.
Hey.